Okay, I want to start with a premise. And I think it's a fair premise. The premise is very simple. The Torah is not interested in repeating things for no reason. And it has absolutely no purpose and no function just to kind of say things that are obvious or that they know or anything of that matter. It's kind of like, ideally, as human beings, if you have nothing new to say, if you have nothing important to say, then don't say it. We don't really lead our lives that way. But I think the Torah definitely strives to do that. And with that premise is going to make something very difficult. It's a very difficult parsha this week from a grammar perspective and the content. It's not so popular. It's the end of Sefer Devarim. If you were in seminaries, like maybe the first week in seminary, so like they're not going to talk about like Devarim, they're talking about like Rosh Hashanah or like Elul stuff, right? And if you were in high school, you went to the Jewish day school, you never get to the end of Sefer Devarim because Devarim is the 5th book and there's only 4 years of high school. So if you learned it maybe is in grade 8, and even if you did Devarim, it's at the end of Devarim, so you never get there. So this is like one of the least talked about parsha, probably from so many different perspectives. But there's something that's very strange. And this parsha seems to repeat something that was said last week, and last week it was said very powerfully. In last week's parsha, basically Moshe told the people something very, very clear. And what is that? Simple. There's a brit, there's a covenant that we have with God. If you break that brit, you get punished. And the problem is, it seems that that exact same message is repeated again in this week's parsha. So our fundamental question needs to be, what makes this week's parsha different from last week? Why do we need to say it again? And I want to point out something. Take a look, please, ladies. Flip to source number 3. This is from last week's parsha. Vaya im Shemot Yishma. By the way, how do you translate Shemot Yishma? What does Shemot Yishma mean?
Listen, heard and will be heard.
Shemot Yishma, you shall surely hear and obey. Right? Because Shem Lokecha, with God's voice. By the way, it's a very important parallel. Why? Because we compare always God's voice, because we need to listen, be very clear on this. Judaism is about listening. The emphasis is not on seeing. In Judaism, now there is an aspect of seeing, but it's secondary to hearing and listening. That's why? Because you can do, in terms of tricks, I can trick you a lot more with sight. Is the ancient world of paganism. It's a world of beauty. It's a world of majesty. It's important, but the ear in Judaism is much more important. Okay?
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Why is it not said V'nishma?
Right? No, because that's action. The world of action is important. V'nishma, right? It's about listening, right? It's about listening, it's about obeying, it's about doing, it's the ear. The eyes are not there's Re'eh, but Re'eh plays a much more secondary role. Okay, we'll develop that as the year goes on. Lishmor v'la'asod kol mitzvot asher mitzvotav asher nochim mitzveh hayom untancha Hashem lokecha elyon kol aretz. God says, good news. If you obey, elyon kol aretz, you'll be exalted, you'll be great. Uba'u elecha kol ha'brachot eila v'sigucha. The brachot will literally catch up to you. That's pretty amazing. They will literally catch up to you. And now you'll notice, although it's the next line, I skipped a bunch of psukim. That's Tet Vav. Everyone has a copy? Okay. And if you don't, oh, I got bad news. The curses are going to catch up to you. Very clear. Moshes' message is crystal clear. Do the mitzvot, wonderful. The good stuff will catch up to you. And the reverse is also true as well. Failure to adhere to the Torah. You're going to get all these terrible, terrible things. And by the way, look at Samech. I spoke with this on Shabbos morning. I gave a shir after davening. What is the worst thing that God can do? He's undoing Egypt. Meaning, God, we left Egypt with miracles and with signs. On our way to Eretz Yisrael, the greatest punishment is that God will undo that. Anybody here ever knit a kippah? Just unravel the kippah. That's what God says. That's the klala. The klala is you'll go back to Egypt. V'yeshivotchem be'oniyot. You'll go back on boats, and I'll send you back to Egypt. I'll exile you from the land of Israel. I'll put you on boats, and the great miracle, I will do all the great miracles will be your punishments. That's why you'll take a look, and then maybe next year, right? When you read the Klalot, it's all about, there'll be hail, and there'll be darkness, and there'll be dever. All the makot that destroyed Egypt will befall us. Should we fail to listen to God's voice? And it concludes, Eila divrei habrit. These are the words of the covenant. Sheshav Hashem et Moshe lichot habrit Yisrael b'arav Moav, be'eretz Moav. Milvad habrit asher karati tam b'chorav. This is the covenant, except for the covenant that took place in Egypt and Sinai many years earlier. So my question is, if that is last week's parsha, very quickly, please turn to our parsha. That's page 1. Same idea. Look at page 1. Yud Aleph. Again a breed. Right? And God says, I make a breed with you, and if you don't listen to this breed, exile, destruction. What's going on? Why is it written twice? I want to share with you a beautiful Nitziv. The Nitziv was Rabbi Naftali Tzvi Yehuda Berlin. He was Rosh Yeshiva in, anybody know? He was a great Rosh Yeshiva of Volozhin. There were 2 Rosh Yeshiva, the Nitziv. In the 19th century, not that long ago. He has a beautiful insight, and I want to share you this tremendous insight. He says, you know the difference between last week's Parsha and this week's Parsha? Take a look. Last week's Parsha, what is the emphasis? Meaning, failure to adhere to the Brit. Sorry, let me explain. I didn't say that properly. What's the song? What do I need to do to be part of the team? Last week's Parsha, what's it all about? What must I do? Obey. It's mitzvot related. Last week's Parsha, says in Nitziv, says, you want to be part of the Brit? Keep the mitzvot. In this week's Parsha, says in Nitziv, that's not the case. In this week's Parsha, it is not commandment-based. Moshe Rabbeinu takes a different vantage point. Last week, says the Nitziv, was about keep the mitzvot, be part of the team, great. Brachot. To fail to keep the mitzvot, you're not part of the team, curses, gone. Says the Nitziv, in next week's Parsha, it's not about mitzvot. It's about attitude. It's about the affective domain. Take a look at the proof of the Nitziv. Tremendous insight. Now look at Yud Zayin. All of a sudden, there's this new dimension is being continued. Ve'im yifne levavcha. What happens if your heart turns? What happens if your heart turns? Ve'lo tishma. And you don't obey. V'nidachta v'ishtachavita l'Elohim achim v'avdam. Which way is your heart going to turn? Is it going to turn towards God? Or is it going to turn towards Avodah Zarah? That is what Moshe here is saying in our parsha. He got it lachem hayom ki avot tovedun. If you turn to Avodah Zarah, that's it. You're finished. You're going to be destroyed. You're not going to have the life of longevity. He testifies for this, and again it ends with, and I'm just skipping. La'ava et Hashem. It's underlined, so it has to be important. Lokecha lishmoa bekolo l'tavka bo. Cling to Him. Hear this? Cling to God. He's your life, longevity, and being on this land, like your land that was promised your forefathers. Here, Moshe Rabbeinu over and over again. Avat Hashem, Avat Hashem. Don't have your heart turned towards Avodah Zarah. In this week's parsha, it's about a person's attitude. And that, says Moshe Rabbeinu, is the key to history. Now, what's the opposite of love?
Okay.
So the opposite of love, one would assume, is hate. But it's actually not really true. Very good. It's indifference. Wonderful. And that's what Moshe is saying here. Moshe says you have a choice. The choice is between, you can choose. Not that you're going to hate God. It's absurd. Your choice is either going to have Avat Hashem, or you're not going to care. And says Moshe Rabbeinu, if you don't care, you're one step away from Avodah Zarah. Those are the options. You're either going to love, it's like a relationship, right? It's, if you care about somebody, so if you love somebody, you care about them. If you hate somebody, right? It still shows there's still a relationship with them. It's a relationship of hatred, but it's still a relationship. If you ever want to drive don't try this at home. If you want to drive your parents crazy, the way to do it is that when they ask you to do something, don't say no. Ignore them. It's like drives people crazy. There's nothing worse than you're ignoring me. Like you send a message to somebody, and they you know they read it, and they didn't respond. That's like a cardinal sin in 2014, right? That's like punishment by death, right? I sent you a message on Facebook, you didn't respond. You ignored me. That's like the worst thing you can do, right? People want a response. And I think that's the message of Moshe Rabbeinu. Moshe Rabbeinu in this week's parsha is saying, God, there's a relationship of love. There's a relationship of responding. And if you don't turn towards God, there isn't something else called, there's only two options, says Moshe. Either turning towards God, or it's over. How can that be? What about the third option? Isn't there an option of like, okay, I'll do this? No. It says Moshe Rabbeinu, there's only two options. Either you're with, and if you're not with, then it's one step away from Avodah Zarah and you're against. That's, I think, what Moshe Rabbeinu, and this is based on the Nitziv, that's what he tries to ask, he believes, he understands this parsha. Because being indifferent is actually leading to a stage of rebellion. And that's what Moshe is saying. And therefore, a person needs to have the sense of inner devotion to God. So, but this is amazing. Why? Because here's what's happening. Moshe Rabbeinu. This is Moshe Rabbeinu's last speech. Because later on, this is his last speech, right? I don't want to get into separate Devarim, his four main speeches. Last week's parsha ended with the big speech, which was the third speech. Moshe Rabbeinu, which was the big Torah mitzvah section. Now Moshe is saying something else. After the mitzvot and ki tetzei and failure to adhere to them lead to exile, Moshe says there's one more message I want to leave with. What is the last message that Moshe Rabbeinu leaves with? He says, guys, last day of his life, basically, Ahavat Hashem is the key. If you want to know what's going to ensure longevity, after all my long-winded speeches and my list of mitzvot, it's about Ahavat Hashem, your heart. Which way is a person going to turn towards? What is the relationship that a person is going to have? I think that is what Moshe Rabbeinu really is saying. And this will explain some very difficult parts of our parsha. It really just opens up a lot. Take a look, please. Go back to page 1. Because now that I've explained this, I want to use this really as a way to appreciate how our parsha opens up, which is very, very, very difficult. Because here's what happens. Okay, the first part is that we're standing here today, and we're standing here for the Brit. That's much less difficult. Look at your Dalet. Ki et asher yeshno. Forget Dalet. Here. Jump to Yud Zayin. Pen yesh bachem ish o isha mishpacha o shevet. Maybe you have someone in your family. Asher, here's the word. Levavo poneh hayom im Hashem. Let's say you have one person who's gonna, stray you off. Lalecha lavod et Elohei goyim ahem pen yesh bachem shoresh poreh rosh v'la'ana. What in the world does this mean? What is a shoresh poreh rosh v'la'ana? So it's like wormwood or something. Something about a type of premature vegetation is how the commentators basically are saying. Something of grass or something. What does it mean? So I want to argue that what this is referring to is, what is this person doing? Here's a person in your own family or another shevet, and they're trying to get you off, shall we say, off the derech, right? So what are they doing? It's only shoreh poreh rosh v'la'ana. Look at this. It's asher levavo poneh. They don't have an action. You hear what Pasuk is saying? This person is coming to you, not saying to you, do this action. Go have a cheeseburger with me. Go let's be Machalel Shabbos together. Right? No! It's levavo poneh. Sorry?
No, they're giving you the idea to do it.
The idea to do it. They're not doing it. They don't want They suggest it. They talk about it. That's why it's only shoresh poreh rosh v'lana. It's just the shoresh. It's just the roots of. It's not the actual grass itself. It's the roots of. It's the beginning stages. Because says Moshe Rabbeinu, that's often where the danger lies. It's not the action. The action sometimes is too late. Or most people perform the action only because they thought about something first. They made a decision to do it. What Moshe here is saying, let's get to the root of the issue. The root often of the cause. And then Moshe says, so what happens? Someone turns to you at the root base and gives you a suggestion, let's do something different. A tremendous way of understanding. This is a very difficult pasuk. I don't know if you have to appreciate it. It's a very complicated pasuk, and the Rishonim go crazy trying to figure out what in the world is Moshe trying to say. But this understanding fits very nicely. I think it's clearly the pshat of what the pasuk was trying to say, and it fits the context of this entire message of Moshe Rabbeinu. Because Moshe now is saying, wait a second. If it's about a person's attitude, now I understand what's the antithesis of that? What's the danger? When someone else has the attitude and tries to sway you there. Because people might argue, I'm not in control. How am I supposed to love God? I'm not in control of that. That's an emotion. I'm not in control of my own emotions. Moshe says it's not true. Now, how do you reach the love of God? Okay, there are different suggestions. The Rambam writes, there's one way. The Rambam says, you go to university. What does the Rambam say? Study science. You didn't know that? The Rambam says study science. The more you study biology, the greater you appreciate God's world. The greater you appreciate God's world, the more Avat Hashem you're going to have. Right? They don't always say that in seminary. Okay, so, and then, okay, things are going to be great. Fine. And that's why this pasuk makes sense. Here, Shalom Yali. If I listen to this brit, Shalom Yali, Bisri-Rutli-Vayelech, I'm going to go after my own heart. Leman Sefot Harva'at Hatzmeah. This is a very difficult pasuk. What in the world is this pasuk mean? I'm going to tell you two interpretations, then I'll give you a third one. What's this pasuk saying? So a person says, I'm going to go after my own heart. I mean, imagine you were last week. You heard Moshe give this grandiose speech, right? Of, we got to follow the mitzvot, and if not, exile. Whoa, nation, exile, that's like terrible, tantamount to death. How do you know it's tantamount to death? Because God says so. Again, we're very nice with Gan Eden. What happens if you eat from Eitzadat? Mot Tamut. They don't die. It's not, is it Cinderella? What's that movie with you eat from an apple, you die? Snow White, sorry, Snow White. It's not Snow White. I get my cartoons, what are they called? Disney things all mixed up. I apologize. So, because why? What happens? Then they don't die, they get galut, they get exiled. Because in the Torah, death is tantamount to exile. It's the same thing. Because you're moving away from God. And distance from God equals to death. So, the Ramban here is saying that I hear last week's parsha, it's about nation, big picture, and I'm one person, what does it really matter? That's the chidush for the Ramban in this week's parsha. Do you know what it's about? Every individual does matter. That one person is significant. Don't be caught up in last week's parsha, just about the national on one person. Not true. So I think the Ramban is right. I want to add to it our component of heart and attitude. I think that fits very nicely. So not only is it just one person, but also what is one person's attitude? And how does it begin? It's not just about something like the precursor to the fulfillment of mitzvot is about our hearts being poneh to Hashem. And it fits very nicely. The Ibn Ezra, he says, similar to the Ramban, but the Ibn Ezra in 7 says, he says, there's a tzaddik, meaning the tzaddikim, I'm going to be good for the tzaddikim. I'm a rasha. I'm a rasha. Meaning the curses, the klalot. All right, that's me. Everyone, like this time of year, some people say to them, it doesn't matter. I'm going to fry anyways. Why not already do this, that, and the other, right? Meaning it's Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, it's Elul. It doesn't matter because I'm destined to go, you know where, right? So it doesn't matter already. He also says, again, it's an attitude thing. And he says that's the function of Nitzavim, to try and correct and improve our attitude. Okay. And what might a person actually say? Look at Yurchet. Ki bisrirut libi elech. What is srirut libi elech? I'm just going after my heart. Because what might someone say, and this is also the Ramban, Rabban here says, I'm going after my heart. Meaning, this speaks to me. This is what I want. What's wrong with that? You ever heard people say, this makes me feel good. Why can't I do that? Or this speaks to me. This draws me in. Isn't that a wonderful thing to do? And I think that's also often a fallacy. We get too caught up in saying, this is good for me, this is what I want. That's not necessarily also a proper attitude that a person needs to have. Right? Because a person could easily say, oh yes, going this way, doing those things, it's just going after my heart. My heart is drawn into it. And again, says the Ramban, what's it a matter of? No, you don't understand. You have it all wrong. It's not a matter of what our hearts are drawn into. It's not always a matter of what our hearts are drawn into. It can be. But that's why Moshe Rabbeinu here is emphasizing what needs to be our heart needs to be drawn into. Not Bisriruli Vayelech, not going after what I desire with the negative, but rather Lavat Hashem Elokecha. This appreciation and love of God. I found, and obviously I'm sure many of you know this better than I do, that apparently there's a Shakespearean play where a guy called Pauliners, I don't know Shakespeare, you ever studying English literature? Where he quoted as saying, be true to your heart. Be true to your heart. You ever heard that phrase before? Be true to your heart. Something. So I found that's the source of it, or some Shakespearean play. Where the play is all about saying, listen, if this is what your heart says, follow your heart. Follow your heart, this is what your heart wants. And here the Ramban is arguing it's not about, meaning you need to be able to control your heart. Control what you want. Control what you desire. That's ultimately the message that Moshe Rabbeinu is teaching Bnei Israel at this moment. Okay. So it continues. If we can please, I want to show you one more thing. And it fits very nicely in the context. How? Turn back to what we were reading before. Go to Pasuk Chavchet, the end of source 1. Hanistarot la'Hashem Elokeinu. What are nistarot? What's a nistar? Hidden. Vaniglaot, so things that are hidden are for God. Haniglaot, things that are revealed. Lanu uvanenu adolam la'asodako divrei Torah zot. What in the world does that mean? Revealed is for God. Hidden is for God. Revealed is for... Does anyone have any clue what that passage is trying to tell us? When revealed is for us. Hidden is for God. But what does that mean? Not like on some Kabbalistic sense. Right? What is the pasuk? What is Moshe trying to say? So take a look at Rashi. Please tell me I included it. Yes, I did. 9. Hanistarat l'Hashem Elokeinu. Im tomru ma biyadenu la'asot. If we have this attitude, what do you want from me? I'll just give up. Why bother? Hanistarat l'Hashem Elokeinu. What's nistar? A person's attitude. It's not revealed. I don't know what's in your heart. I don't know what you're thinking. For all I know, you're thinking, well, that Greenberg guy has such an annoying voice, right? I don't know. The nistarot you don't know. And nistarot el Hashem Elokeinu. Says Rashi, im tomru ma biyadenu la'asot. What hope do I have? What chance do I have? This fits, I think, very nicely with our argument. Once again, the Torah is saying, nistarot Hashem Elokeinu is actually wrong. Meaning, it's right in the sense that God only knows what's nistar. But it often leads to niglot. A person's attitude, a person's behavior obviously has a tremendous effect on their actions, on the galui, on what ends up happening. So a person might erroneously conclude, why bother? Why even be part of the team? I don't really love God. I'm not interested in having a relationship with God. I'll fake it. I'll do the galui, niglot line. I will do the actions of Yahadut. That's not really in my heart. I'm not really behind what I'm just going through the motions. That, Moshe Rabbeinu says, is a speech before he passes away. You can't just go through the motions. If your heart isn't into it, it's not going to work. It's not going to work. Maybe it'll be okay today. Maybe it'll be okay tomorrow. If you don't have a sense of passion and commitment and conviction, then it's just a matter of time. You have to work on it. It's difficult. It's a challenge. But that, I believe, is the message of this second breed. And what makes Nitzavim-Vayelech very different to last week, which is Kitavo. And then it also explains why in this week's Parsha, it's all about poetry. It's extremely poetic. Lots of metaphors. Last week's Parsha, no metaphors. It's black and white. God's going to slam the daylights out of you. Clear. Plague, not couched in, In this week's, it's, Kofit Vamelach, there'll be there's lots more a sense of metaphors and poetry. Because that leads to the ultimate poem. In next week's Parsha. Well, it's a bit of a game, right? It's no Parsha, so it's not really. Next week, next week is Hezinu. Those who went to Yitzchayim to memorize Hezinu, those days are over. She had to memorize Hezinu, right? Miriam always says, my wife always says, that she had to memorize Hezinu when she was in grade 8 in Yitzchayim. Now, the question is why to memorize Hezinu, and what's its message? That's next week's topic. that'll help too, but what I'm trying to say is the end of the Torah, of course, is couched in poetry, because poetry speaks to the heart. Oh my goodness, he loved me, wrote me like a love poem, right? Why don't you just say, I love you? Well, that's boring. That doesn't say anything, right? One thing, you'll teach men. You're going to teach men this, right? It's not about the flowers, it's about the card. Right? Like what you see in the card, that's very right, and it's true. Meaning, it's the poetry, it's the message behind it. That's what really matters. How they say, not just they say it. It's what's the emotion behind it. And I think that is the message that Moshe wants to leave with. That is the message that is so relevant for this time of year as we stand on the precipice of the last 10 days of 5774, right? And that is what is a person's attitude. And it's difficult, and it's challenging, but we have to be cognizant of the fact that if we just do things, just like last week's Parsha, and go through the mitzvot, because we need to and we have to, that's good. There's a tremendous danger to that. And the danger Moshe Rabbeinu says is, it's often the roots begin just by attitude. The roots begin to change when we just think, maybe, why should I do this for? Why is it important? I don't really need to have, and that, I think, is something which is quite dangerous. Because often, and this is also true, when you want to break up with somebody, you don't break up with somebody through action. Usually you think about it first, you entertain it first, right? That's the normal way of doing things. So too it is with Hakadosh Baruch Hu. First we have a change in attitude, and maybe, this isn't so exciting, and this is boring, and then. Unfortunately, often, that can often be the next stage to actually severing a relationship. In the Torah's case, of course, that's called Avodah Zarah. I was saying to the Nitziv, when I saw this Nitziv, and I really just opened up this. It's a very difficult parsha. Hopefully when you're in Shul Shabbos, look at it, and it can really resolve. I've really gone through almost pasuk by pasuk, trying to understand this message, that here Moshe Rabbeinu is about our hearts. Here this week's Parsha is about what is our attitude, how you develop the attitude, and not just say the attitude doesn't matter, it's insignificant, it has no impact, and nor is it also to say that I have no control over my attitude. I have no control over my feeling, it's just something that just happens. It is not true. It's something we can't control, it's something which we can actually channel, and hopefully if we're able to recognize a certain sense of feeling and commitment, and hopefully that can inspire us to recognize why we're part of the team, why we want to be part of the breed, and why it's worthwhile to we're not just doing, one of the great criticisms sometimes in the modern era as a Holocaust Jew. Meaning, I'm only Jewish because of the Holocaust, something negative happened. Or, I don't want Hitler to win, I don't want to give him a posthumous victory. Right? Yes, there's some truth to that, but it has to be much more. It has to be valuable being part of the team and being part of Knesset Yisrael, and hopefully with that proper attitude, become inspired and take us into the next year to come. Hashem, a year of goodness and bracha for all of our families. Thank you.